Super Bowl review time. The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Welcome to the FTN Fantasy Schatz and Tanier NFL podcast for Monday, February 10th, 2025. I'm Aaron Schatz. You know me as the DVOA guy from FTN Fantasy, coming to you live, still in New Orleans. He is Mike Tanier. His Substack is miketanier.substack.com. He is home back in South Jersey in the Philadelphia area, home of the Super Bowl champions. Just a complete, ridiculous defensive domination. If you missed me posting on Twitter or you missed the post on FTN Fantasy, the Philadelphia defensive DVOA in the first half of that game was minus 169%. Which is even better than the 85 Bears because of era adjustments. Because, wow. We'll start with a question. We'll take your questions, obviously, live, as we always do when we do this show. Mike Roos wants to know, as an Eagles fan, Mike, did it feel weird and unnatural to have all of America cheering your team?
It did. It did. It's a contrast from everything else, but it was hard to feel. You told me, Aaron, and you were tweeting or bleeding or whatever, that Cafe de Monde was full of Eagles fans by the weekend. During the week, it was kind of 50-50 Chiefs.
It was kind of 50-50, but by the time we got to the weekend, it was so heavily Eagles. And I was like, well, I mean, people could have come down for the hang and they're not going to the game. This doesn't necessarily mean that the game is going to be like, but, it was like 75% Eagles fans.
Right. You could hear the EAGLES chant, the Fly Eagles Fly chant, and everything through the telecast, and it had to be booming in the building.
Yeah, it was, and I mean, we had tons of Eagles fans. I mean, listen, when you sit in auxiliary press, you go to the regular bathrooms with the fans. At one point, I went to the bathroom before the game. There were about 45 people in line. I think 4 of them had Chiefs jerseys.
Well,
it was like 38 Eagles fans, 4 Chiefs fans, and a couple of press members. Like, it was ridiculous.
Well, God bless you for going to the same bathroom as a bunch of Eagles fans, because we have vets.
Yeah, that was before they were crazy, before the game got out of hand.
When the Eagles are winning, the world is our bathroom.
Eagles, I mean, what was it? You're the Eagles fan. You now have what I don't have.
Which is
a blowout victory in the Super Bowl.
True. Something Tom Brady never accomplished.
It's something the Patriots never accomplished. How did it feel? Like it just kept coming. Like the first touchdown, you were like, well, that's nice. And then it just kept going.
Yeah. It's surreal because as an Eagles fan, you're not equipped to handle that emotionally. It's not something you deal with. And yeah, for the first, 20 minutes of game time, the Eagles are winning 7-0, 10-0. It feels like they're blowing them out, but it also feels like the kind of game where Mahomes can turn this around, can flip this switch at any time. And we were saying off camera, even at halftime, I felt like Mahomes can come out, big play, beginning of the third quarter, flip this switch at any time. But I think after they get stopped early in the third quarter, Eagles march down the field, kick a field goal. It's like, this is happening. There's no adjustment. And then, in the neighborhood, I started to hear, the fireworks clanging and the horn sounding. People knew, and the absolute jubilation afterwards was something I've never experienced because I was in Minneapolis the first time the Eagles won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, so I took notes on this game. I'm not even going to look at them. Like, it all just basically comes down to the Eagles' front four just destroyed the Chiefs over and over again. They never blitzed all game.
No, I think I saw one what could have been called a zone blitz, where a linebacker blitzed and Nolan.
Yes, there was one where Zach Bond came, but there was never a play with more than 4 pass rushers all game long.
Right, and I was just looking at one, the play before the Cooper DeJean interception. Eagles rush 4, Chiefs keep 7 max protect. They've got Kelsey and Pacheco blocking Sweat. It doesn't work. They got Thuney on the other side blocking, I think, Jalix Hunt. And Jalix Hunt is taking out Thuney. And it's a double sack. It sets up the 3rd and long. And then you see Mahomes on the next play where he throws the interception. Escaping a pocket. It wasn't a clean pocket, but it's a pocket where he would often step up in. A quarterback can step up in. He's getting rattled. And when you saw that over and over again, it speaks to that negative 169.3 DVOA, that it was just an absolute collapse of the Chiefs offense.
Camden Caps wants to know, are we going to start valuing great interior pass rushers close to how we value edges with how much interior pressure can shut down or hurt the deep passing game? I feel like we do value great interior pass rushers. There just aren't that many of them. There aren't that many guys who are Jalen Carter or Chris Jones, although, I mean, Milton Williams had a great game, and by the way, is going to be a free agent.
He's going to be oh my goodness, that's true. Yeah, the Eagles have some free agent issues I don't want to talk about. I'm trying to look up the contracts right now, and I'm having trouble. Chris Jones, $158 million. Christian Wilkins, $110 million. Matabuke, $98. I think they're in the range. But like you said, there's a handful of them, whereas there might be, like, let's say 12 to 15 edges who are in that category. But I think football people value these guys. Maybe it's up to the fans to recognize them a little bit more. Because, again, Carter was great, Williams was great, and Jones was having a really strong game. That's one of the reasons they were stopping Barkley so consistently.
Camden Caps also wants to know where that Eagles defense now ranks all time. The reason why in DVOA I think they don't come out as a top 10 defense is the first month of the season.
Right.
But if you look at them since October, that is a top 10 defense all time. No question.
That
or
feels
at least
right.
since 1978.
Now, I don't think you've done this yet. If you put the Super Bowl DVOA in, is this the best Eagles team ever? I don't know if you've run that yet. Is it better
no. If you adjust for sitting starters, 2004 is still the best of the Eagles teams because they were really, really good before they sat starters in their last two games. But defensively, this was the fourth best defensive performance in a Super Bowl by DVOA, including the garbage time. If you take out the garbage time, it's up there with the best.
Okay, so with garbage time, it would be like second best if you take the worthy stuff out.
If you take the worthy stuff out. If you look through the first half, it's the best. If you look through the first three quarters, it's third. And if you look, and it's basically tied for first. And if you look through the whole game, it's fourth behind the 85 Bears,
which is amazing.
The 2002 Bucks, and I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember what's the other one that's way up there. I'm blanking. It's not the Seahawks. The Seahawks was more of an all-around game.
Because I would have thought it was the Seahawks. It wasn't one of those Giants games against the Patriots.
The Ravens.
Who?
The top three that are basically tied, if you look through three quarters, are the 85 Bears, the 2000 Ravens, and this Eagles.
Oh gosh, yes. That's a good place for the Eagles to be. I don't need to be at the top of that list. Everyone remembers the 85 Bears. We just blanked on the Ravens. But if you look at that accomplishment, and they're up there with the team that knew the other team's playbook, which was in here.
I called it, I think I said some skeet out about, like, this is Vic Fangio's When I Paint My Masterpiece, although I worried that by saying that I was giving a little bit of a short shrift to the talent of the players. Yeah, because this is by far the best set of paints that he's had, or at least against Mahomes, right? I mean, Zach Bond, the Cooper DeJean interception was a zone where, by the way, Hopkins was completely covered by Mitchell behind DeJean, even if DeJean doesn't intercept that. But the Zach Bond interception was like a ridiculous dive. Like, how did he get that ball kind of thing?
Right. That's like when you're playing Madden and you think Madden is cheating to catch up and somebody dives like 20 yards. That's kind of what Bond does. But you look on that play, it's made possible by Sweat, who pushes, I think it was Thuney, right back into Mahomes. And I was just rewatching some of the stuff. And Jalen Carter is triple blocked on that game. They've got Hunt trying to leak out of the backfield, and he and two blockers come on Carter, who's running a stunt. And it's just, well, how is Bond? How are these underneath defenders everywhere? It's like, well, you're using 6 and 7 guys to block 4. You're using 3 guys to block 1. Of course, there's an unattended Bond and unattended DeJean in the back. We'll give Fangio credit, though, because, again, we got 2 rookies in the secondary that we're talking about.
Yep.
Bond, a special teamer and rotational player when he comes to Philly. All the former Georgia Bulldogs dudes, except Carter, who were just kind of hanging around doing nothing last year. Sweat, who's been a good player, but a rotational player. All these guys are coming together. That has to be a testimony in part.
Avonte Maddox.
Yes. Jalen's
4th and 3.
Yes. Yes.
Avonte Maddox. Like everybody on the Eagles was making good plays. It was just awesome.
Avonte Maddox last year couldn't cover a lid with a pot. He was a disaster last year. He's one of those guys, came into the team. He was on the Super Bowl team that lost 2 years ago. He was always rotating in, nickel guy. I forgot they were still using him. I forgot he was on the roster. He's coming out there. He's making a clutch plays. Jalix Hunt, another rookie, is making clutch plays throughout.
He was Zach Sears' big sleeper prospect. Yes. And then he didn't really sleep. He went earlier than I think anybody expected because people realized how good he was going to be, and he was really good. I thought Josh Sweat, I would have voted Josh Sweat for MVP. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem with Hurts winning MVP because, he had, they put the game on his shoulders. Like we knew going into this, the Chiefs were going to try to stop Saquon Barkley and make Hurts beat them. Yes. And while it was mostly the defense that beat them, Hurts also beat them, like the deep shot. Jalen Watson had that really great half season, and then he got beat twice. He got beat on the Dotson almost touchdown, and then he got beat on the Devontae Smith the play action touchdown that was just like, oh, the Eagles are just effing around at this point. Like,
right. They're nailing it shut. That looked like those college football games. Like, oh, we got a turnover. Let's take the shot now. Let's try to take these 18-year-olds out of the game.
That was really the end. At that point, that was like turn out the lights. The party's over.
Right. I started hooting and hollering around here, and it's like I actually started editing because I don't start editing until the game is over, especially after 28-3. I started editing at that point. That's why I'm cloudy on what happened like in the final minutes of the fourth quarter.
Oh, I stopped taking notes in the fourth quarter. Like I have all these notes from the first 3 quarters in the fourth quarter. I'm just like, F
this is silly time. It's time to write, or it's time to have a cocktail, or it's time to go to the interview room or whatever. It's not time to take copious notes about what's happening.
Now, I will point out, I really pissed off Eagles fans by putting this out last
I was wondering what you were going on about on Blue Sky, so let's hit it. What happened?
Xavier Worthy had a really good game. It was in garbage time, but it's not like the Eagles were like, we don't really want to shut out. Let's let him score. Like the Chiefs had one guy who had a really good game, and that was Xavier Worthy.
It was a statistically good game, and I'll say the first 2 catches that drive them downfield late in the third quarter, that's not the garbage time.
The last one was over a backup. The last one, the 50.
The last one was against backups, and there was another big play before that in those final set of drives that was like after the Gatorade or whatever. But like I kind of saw that, and it's like, I mean, it was a statistically great game. He popped the over.
Yeah, and my job is to point out statistically great games. That's what I do. So I was like, this was a statistically great game that didn't matter. I mean, I said it didn't matter. It was too late. And people were like, how come you didn't point out that it was too late? And I'm like, I said it. It's too late. It was too late, but it was a great game.
You got. I saw fans were coming at you a little bit.
Yeah. Why are you online? Why are you not celebrating? Go to a bar or something, for crying out loud.
I was at the bar, and I noticed. I was like, okay, you can undig yourself from that. But yeah, it was a statistically strong game. But like for the first 3 quarters, he was invisible. He was neutralized.
Well, no, there was one. Well, there was one where he was deep down the left side, and Mitchell had him. Mitchell had him covered, and they wanted to go. Mahomes wanted to go to him deep left, the left side, and Mitchell had him covered, and he had to dump it off to Hollywood Brown, who didn't even catch the thing.
Yeah, right. And there were, I think, a couple of times where he was invisible in that game. So if I'm giving game balls to the Chiefs because I have to, it's like, well, again, Nick Bolton gets one. The Cook, who got the interception, gets one. Yeah, Worthy gets a Chiefs game ball. Put it on your mantle, kid.
But I mean, you point out that he had a great game in garbage time. It was garbage time, but
it was garbage time.
Did a lot of stuff. Apex says you can search all your life and not find Jalen Carter. The Eagles did get a little lucky that Carter dropped to them at 9 a few years ago, but like everybody, like we're going to be like, I didn't know Cooper DeJean was going to be this good. I didn't know Milton Williams was going to be this good. Everybody knew Jalen Carter was going to be this good.
It's exactly right. And he had real character issues. The man can't drive 55. So there was a risk reward there, and the Eagles brought him to where Jordan Davis was already there, a guy he knew. and where they thought they had the infrastructure in place to keep him sort of on the straight and narrow, which they seem to have done so far. So you're right. That is a unique talent, but it's a logical process that had some teams lead to, we can't. The Raiders couldn't get this guy. This kid,
right.
He'd be driving down the strip 120 miles an hour. Mark Davis was like, "Oh, I'm not going to do about that." You couldn't.
I mean, credit to the Eagles for having the locker room to make sure he didn't do that again.
Yes, and that was the structure of the team. Again, having a support network in place when you bring the guy in, that was smart. These guys in the secondary, everyone knew Quinyon Mitchell was going to be good, but it was a draft where there were 20 quarterbacks that had to go first. So Quinyon slides down to the Eagles. Dijon had great film, but no one sees this. You can't. No one saw. Oh, he's going to have a pick six in the Super Bowl, and he's going to be the slot player.
Nobody saw the Zach Bond thing, as we were talking about a lot this week with other reporters. Mm-hmm. If the Eagles knew there was even a chance that this was coming with Zach Bond, they would have signed him to a 2-year contract, not a 1-year contract.
Yes. They thought they'd gotten a special teamer and like a rotational edge guy, and Fangio, and Doug was talking about this. Fangio saw his film and came up with this light bulb moment. Let's try him off ball. And look what we got. Another guy the Eagles are going to miss. We'll talk about that after the parade.
Yeah, I mean, for those who don't, we're going to take off from the show for a couple of weeks. We'll be back after the combine. When we come back after the combine, then we'll really talk free agency and stuff. But for now, it's celebration time. Michael Allen Brewer wants to know, do they show the commercials in the stadium, or were we spared the body horror of seal, and flesh cowboy hat? Yeah, I saw memes online. The only commercial they showed in the stadium was the flag football one.
Okay.
With the girl playing flag football. Otherwise, I didn't see any of the commercials.
Then sometimes they'll show the movie trailers, the big movie trailers.
Yeah, they didn't show any of them.
Interesting. How was Kendrick live?
Good. It's not, modern rap is not really my cup of tea, although if I have to pick any modern rapper, I guess I would pick Kendrick Lamar. I hear that there was a massive meltdown by the right wing on Twitter after the performance, whereas on Blue Sky, it was more people like, well, that wasn't my thing, but okay. It was for the, I ran into a very famous reporter whose name I will not say here, but is someone who is even a little bit older than the two of us. And he was like, that was the worst halftime show I've ever seen. And I said, it wasn't for you. I said, it wasn't for me. That was for Derek Klassen and JP Acosta. Yeah. That was for people who are 28 years old. It wasn't for us.
Okay, boomer, man. Really? Okay, boomer. Oh, we need to get Springsteen back out there. We need Springsteen, and then we get the Doobie Brothers, and we can get Donald Fagen out there. Come on. And, I'm sitting there. My kids were at college. God only knows what their level of sobriety is this morning. But, so it's just me and my wife watching. It's well, this is lively. This is fun. It's well choreographed. It's upbeat. This is cool.
Yeah, I missed the choreography because I was getting food, so I only heard it. I didn't see it.
There's the secret. It was time to get food. The choreography was really cool. And it's I can't, he raps so fast. All rappers rap so fast. I can't hear what he's talking about. I thought he was being political. Sounds like he was just going after Drake again.
Just going after Drake. Yeah.
You won, man. You won. Let Drake have his Xavier Worthy touchdown once in a while. You won, Kendrick, but I enjoyed it. But all us graybeards, go get food at halftime. Go get food. Come on.
Michael Allen Brewer says, seeing the human jukebox, the marching band, and pregame was fun. Yeah, the marching band and pregame was a lot of fun. Again, another reason why New Orleans is a great place to have the Super Bowl. We talked about it on Thursday's show, just how much we've really enjoyed being here. They have got to go less than 12 years between Super Bowls in New Orleans.
Did you get Doug out during the weekend?
We ended up crashing. We'd done enough work, and you and I did Frenchman Street a couple times earlier in the week, so we didn't make it. I did make it down back to the French Quarter Sunday morning, which is how I ended up in Cafe Du Monde with 190,000 Eagles fans and 3 people's in Mahomes jerseys.
Were the Eagles fans like, "Give me a Zeppeli"? They're not.
No, it was every 5 minutes there was an EAGLES Eagles chant. Every 5 minutes. If you're someone who is not a fan of either team and you don't care about the 3 in a row, and your only thing was a utilitarian, how do we make the most number of people in the stadium happy? you got the right result last night, because that stadium was like 75% Eagles fans, and they were having a freaking party from the start of the second quarter on. Like, once people realized, oh my God, like, this is a blowout, it was just the Eagles fans were. I mean, the best was when they started to mock the Chiefs chants.
Oh,
I don't know if
I
you
didn't
heard
hear
that, but they were doing the Chiefs Indian chant to mock them.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear that. They might have garbled it over the. Actually, Fox doesn't care. But
yeah, I saw something where apparently Brady was getting a little hard to take in the fourth quarter because the game was so out of reach that he was basically just talking about like his Super Bowls or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I had shut him down by then. I don't listen to him much anyway. I don't know how you mock that. Maybe if Liam Cohen tried to do the Arrowhead chant, he could bury it forever. Give it like the doo-wop swing. Oh, oh, oh. That's it. It's done. It's done forever. Go coach the Jaguars.
I mean, and I will say, listen, it's hard to get blown out. It's hard to get blown out in 2 Super Bowls, but the Chiefs, you know, they only have 3 recent championships to fall back on as far as if they're feeling bad this morning. And I always say, this comes up with LeBron James a lot. It's better to get to the championship and lose than not to get there at all.
Agreed. Look at where Bills fans are regularly. Look at where Niners fans are. Sorry, Niners fans. I know some of you are listening.
Right. They'd rather have, the Bills fans would rather have a couple of championships and a couple of big losses than what they do have.
Of course, older Bills fans
had losses 30 freaking years ago.
Oh my gosh. The on radio they asked, you know, earlier, like, well, Mahomes' legacy, and it's like they're 3-2 in the Super Bowl with him. Brady was 3-2 in Super Bowls for several years.
Yeah. Oh my God. First of all, this is not the morning to talk about Mahomes' legacy. No. This is the morning to talk about Vic Fangio's legacy.
That's interesting.
And second of all, Mahomes has a lot of career left.
Yes, he's 30 or he's 31. I forget. He has a lot of career left, and he's got MVP awards and championship rings and AFC rings and things like that, and 10 more years left of his career. And yeah, he's got the 2 losses. And like Brady's both losses where the other team's front 4 was so amazing that they shut down everything that the Patriots could do. That's pretty much exactly what Mahomes faced in his 2 losses. The other front 4 just slaughtered everything, and I was running for my life for 60 minutes.
Jeffrey Walbach wants to know, does this result give the AFC some confidence against the Chiefs next year? I think that you did see the weaknesses of the Chiefs offense. I think obviously you would want to have a pass rush as good as what the Eagles had.
Yep.
A front 4 that doesn't need to blitz, which I'm sorry, Baltimore, you do not have.
Bills do, though.
The Bills might. They don't, not this good, but they've got some good guys. I will note for the case of advanced analytics, do you know who opened as co-favorites with the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl next year?
Not the Bills?
The Ravens. So Vegas, you may not believe in the advanced metrics on the Ravens, but Vegas does.
You and Vegas use similar methods. You have for decades.
Similar methods. But the funny thing is I wouldn't because I do think that the Ravens do have certain defensive weaknesses. But I mean, I think that next year we're going to still be talking about the Chiefs as being somewhat inevitable, and at least to win the AFC. And if they have a year like the last couple of years where they cruise with the close games, we're going to be like, well, just wait till the playoffs where they turn it on. And I don't think this really takes too much away from the Chiefs' mythology.
No, I can't sit here and say, and this proves anything about the Chiefs except that sometimes the matchup is bad. And when you keep getting the Super Bowls, you might lose some of them. I'm thinking about the Texans too. The Texans have to be looking at that and say, why couldn't our front 4 do something like this?
I think their front 4 can.
I
don't think their offense can do what Jalen Hurts did. I mean, their offense has 2 guys, just Stroud and Collins. Tank Dell being hurt and all that. I will note that the Chiefs still have their record streak in one score games.
That's right. This ain't no one-score game.
Because this was not a one-score game.
So central tendency sometimes takes a 90-degree turn. It goes in a different direction.
Mike Glauben Brewer says, I was a little surprised Todd Monken didn't get more head coaching interviews this cycle. I'm only highlighting that to point out, by the way, that Kellen Moore is apparently taking the New Orleans Saints job.
Yes.
That even though it's a horrible job, there are only 32 jobs in the NFL, and you strike while the iron is hot, and he's apparently taking it. So Philadelphia will, on top of free agents, they will need a new offensive coordinator next year.
Offensive coordinator. It'd be nice to get somebody else from outside who can balance out Nick Sirianni a little bit.
But you know what? It doesn't matter because there's going to be a parade.
There's going to be a parade. Exactly. We talked about that after the parade. Monken in the interviews, I mean, remember, the Patriots don't do interviews. The Cowboys don't really do interviews. The Raiders did interviews, but they were like interviews. The Bears zeroed in and got their guy first. There wasn't like a normal cycle where you had like all these guys out there and there was mystery about what was going on. We have several teams just kind of went rogue and did whatever they want, which is why a lot of these guys maybe didn't have like these big interview cycles you might expect.
Yeah, I do feel like anybody who was up for a job this year, there's like needs to be an asterisk on it of what is Jerry Jones thinking that all these like various quality assistants didn't get interviews with the Dallas Cowboys and they took Brian Schottenheimer instead.
Off of a fired staff, off of a staff that was fired, they just went and got one of the
over guys. Todd Monken and Brian Flores and like a number of other guys, like crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you've heard my theories on that off the record, but I was talking to Darren Woodson at the Fox thing, and he's trying to explain what's wrong with the Cowboys, and he's like, the facial expression was priceless, and if you're listening, you won't see it, but he's like, and who'd they hire? Brian Schottenheimer? He does this long take before he collects himself, says, well, it's going to be a challenge for him, as somebody who maybe doesn't have he says something polite, but like the facial expression was like, what is this? What is this?
Yeah, yet another reason why it's a good time to be an Eagles fan, because not only did you just win the Super Bowl, but your arch rival is wrecking themselves.
It's wrecking itself, and the Giants are a mess. And the Commanders are the Commanders. They're tough, but you have to have some challenges in the division.
So when is the parade? Is it Tuesday, Wednesday?
I don't know. I've been in a news funk, and there's snow coming.
Oh.
And snow in Philly, that causes another
they have to
layer.
plan the parade around the snow so that it's...
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be Thursday or Friday, but I'm going to check after I get off the air. If anyone knows, you can hit me with it now. I plan to attend. I do not plan to be sober.
Apex says the parade is Friday.
Ideal. Absolutely ideal. Oh, wait, I'm going to have to pick up my kid at college. My wife can do it.
But think of all the like elementary school and high school kids who are going to just skip school that day and go to the parade. And
I'll get Mike on Thursday. What's he doing on Friday? Is he going to be like, he's a film major. He can go film the parade.
Yes. I bet that'll be a great thing to watch 20 years from now. You'll be like, remember when we blew out the freaking Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl? The dynasty killers. The Philadelphia Eagles beat the Patriots, and they beat the Chiefs. They are the dynasty killers.
Dynasty killers. What a great place for Philly to land.
All right. That does it for today's show, folks. And it does it for shows for the next couple of weeks. Of course, make sure you're reading Mike's Substack. There's lots of great stuff still coming. And I'll have some content, I'm sure, over the next couple of weeks. We'll be at the Combine in Indianapolis at the end of the month. So the next show we're doing will be the first Monday of March, where we will do a Combine review and free agency preview. And then we'll have shows during free agency to talk about what happens in free agency. I almost forgot, by the way, at the beginning of the show, I totally forgot that we are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. And I have the same read I've had all season about NFL season. But you want to know, Underdog Fantasy does other sports.
Basketball.
So if you want to make basketball and hockey cool, you should play Underdog Fantasy. And of course, use code FTN to get a $1,000 match on your first deposit.
Golf is heating up. They do golf.
Yes. And by the way, FTN does golf. So if you don't have an FTN subscription yet, by the way, our golf picks are amazingly good. Like Alex Blickel really knows his stuff, and I don't know anything about golf, but we have a great record at golf. Like I say that on radio shows, I'm like, this is a sport I know nothing about, but our record is outstanding.
Beautiful. GVOA.
All right. That does it for today's show. We will be back again first Monday in March after the Combine. Congratulations, Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia fans, have a great time at the parade on Friday. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. So long.